Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Freedback Friday edition of The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras, from a state known in free America as California. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
No, I help out when I get the opportunity. I come from the East Coast. I'm the East Coast. That's the co-host with the most from the East Coast, which we have the most. My name is Mike Poworski. I will be assisting you today. And Craig, before we even get started, I got to say I panicked. I looked down at the screen. I thought, what is that on your forehead? And it's my cursor. So don't worry about it.
Are you cursing my forehead? Is that what you're saying you're doing?
It was right in the center of the screen, I guess, where I left the cursor. And then when we popped up, because for folks, when you watch the intro, we watch the intro.
Right.
And then it pops up with our screen in the center. And I was like, oh, what's that on Craig's forehead? We can't go on the program with him having something on his forehead. And it was my cursor. So hold on, wait. Can you feel me scratching your forehead right now?
Nice,
there we go.
I cannot feel you scratching my forehead right now, but I do hear my phone ringing. So we're going to go ahead and cut that off.
Oh, you got to put phasers on stun before we do this kind of stuff.
I keep telling myself to do that, but you know what? It just be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you. Sometimes you got to have the sound on and listen to them training videos.
Exactly. Training videos. That's what we'll call it. Well,
Training videos, yes.
When you're enjoying Freedback Friday and the weekend has already started, well, stuff happens.
It does. Freedback Friday. How was your Friday going so far? How's Freedback Friday going for you?
You know what? It's going phenomenal. Got a lot of stuff done today. More than I thought I would get done by this point in the day. A lot of good stuff. I've actually now I'm doing this thing now. I'm like only consuming adult beverages starting on the weekend. So I almost
Wednesday
made
noon.
it till after the show to start consuming alcoholic adult beverages, but I didn't make it.
I actually I broke my knee earlier today.
Broke your knee?
That's what it feels. Well, I was at this place and finishing work for the week, right? Doing the last bit of transactions and deals. I'm in the how do you say it? The import export business, right? That's a deal.
That's it. That's the ticket.
It's I deal with latex,
right?
And the guys I was with, I may have been picking up or dropping off some stuff, right. And they said, "This is like 1:30." They're like, "Hey, all good. Hey, you want a beer?" And I was like, my knee, you broke my knee," and I fell down and I had to drink the beer. So,
okay.
These guys they came over and they beat me with a beer can. Is what they did.
Medicinal purposes.
medicinal beers. Yeah.
I hear you, sir. I hear you. So hey, folks,
for the record, not flying today. Okay?
Not flying today. He was not flying today. That is
piloting.
An excellent point, because otherwise, that'd be bad juju.
Yeah. We'll start getting the letters. Yeah.
So hey, folks, just so you know, we call it Feedback Friday because if we get some really good comments, well, then we award the winner of the day with some free stuff. So now, if you want to participate in that, you gotta be on Facebook, and you gotta actually go to our Facebook page, which you'll find out, obviously. Where will you find it? On Facebook. Just look for The Rundown 2A News, but you'll find us there. It is the place to be. But anyway, that's where you're going to go when you're going to comment, and we're going to kind of read and review your comments. And if you give us some really good ones, well, then, you get a chance to win some stuff. Uh-oh.
Yep. Feedback Friday. Listen, it's got to be not just the best of today. We want it to be the best of this week.
Yes.
And with the show Craig and I did for you on Groundhog Day, that's going to be tough to beat.
It is really going to be tough to beat. That was, I have to say, I was very impressed with ourselves on that one.
What?
I was impressed with ourselves. We did a good job.
Oh,
do you mind?
I thought you heard something about touching ourselves. You said, I don't know.
Impressed.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good fun. Pretty fun. I ran into some people earlier today that they were also like, "Dude, you had me at the end of the show. I was rewinding it, trying to figure it out, and then I realized what you guys did, and I thought, damn, comedy time bomb. That's what it was. Comedy time bomb."
Excellent stuff. So how was most of your? Oh wait, Patrick Collins has chimed in. So Georgia is in the house.
I think he's actually in Georgia this week. He's doing some videography work there in Georgia this week. I don't want to say what kind of videography is because it's he's an adult, right? Allowed to make whatever he wants to do. So,
Patrick, I will just say that the way in which he has impugned your moral integrity is typical of Mr. Pilwarski. And yeah, it's funny, but you have every right to stand up and tell him to go jump in a lake if you so wish.
You're the one that said impugny, not me. So
impugny. Oh, dude, you are entirely too funny. Just so you know, I got nothing for you. on that one. In any case,
welcome, Patrick.
Welcome, Patrick. We appreciate you. We appreciate you tuning in, sir. All right, so now it's time for us to get into today's stories. Now, we're going to start off, and the first story is really kind of two stories. The first two stories are really kind of the same story, but we wanted to go ahead and touch bases with you on this one. All right, so you guys saw that Biden came out just the other day and decided that he was going to come out and he was going to be tough on crime, right? He decided that he was going to go to New York and he was going to stand up and tell folks about how he was going to be tough on crime. And he right here. Now, mind you, what gets me about this whole particular thing is that when he's supposed to be talking about crime, and he's supposed to be talking about all the crime that's taking place there in New York, and officers are being assaulted and killed, and people are losing their livelihoods, right? He comes out and he starts talking about how he's going to combat guns. Now, Mike, is it just me? Or is he confusing being tough on guns with being tough on crime?
Well, he clearly doesn't know the difference between the two. And can you bring that photo back up for me again there of him standing in front of the distinguished officers from the NYPD there?
Yes.
If anybody that's ever studied kinesics or just any amount of body language whatsoever, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 police officers in the background there. All of which are praying for the roof to collapse on them so they can get out of there. None of them wish to look at the body language there.
Did you say they're praying for the roof to collapse on the president of the United
States?
No,
not on the president. Said on themselves, not on the president. I would never say that. They're waiting for a catastrophe.
Violence upon the president. Is that what you're saying?
They're looking at the back door, going, "I think I can make it. I think I can make it to the back door, and nobody will notice." They want to be out of there so bad. They're like, you know what? I guarantee you, those 7 guys right there, they probably did something wrong, and this is their punishment. They have to sit there behind the president and pretend like they don't hate him, and they don't think that his processes and his plans here to rid New York of gun crime is the actual problem. This guy. Look at him in front there, all lost. You know what he's thinking right now, too?
What is he
thinking?
Pudding.
Not about putting prisoners in jail, but just pudding.
Not just regular pudding, though. You know what he's thinking about? Tapioca.
See,
because tapioca is the old people's pudding.
It's got the little bubbles that pop in it.
The little bubble. Although it's coming back in style. What's they call that? Bobola or whatever. Out here, yes, there's this stuff. It's like a drink that has this big, huge, like tapioca, like little bubbles in it. I forget what it's called. Boba. I think it's called boba. Yeah, that's a thing. My kids, 20 somethings, love their boba.
I'll stick with the Groundhog Day.
You'll stick with Groundhog Day.
You can have the boba. I'll stick with the Groundhog Day.
But and I think that the thing that gets me about this is that this feeds into a lot of different misconceptions. The first thing is that they see gun crime or crimes involving guns as the problem, and it's not guns involving crime that are the problem. That's a symptom. It's a crime issue. And there is not a person in New York who you can talk to, not a law enforcement officer, that you will talk to will not tell you that the problem has nothing to do with gun laws. New York has the strictest gun laws in the entire country. It has everything to do, though, with people who are deciding not to enforce the law. Because it doesn't matter how tough the gun laws are, if you don't enforce them, it really doesn't matter. And that's what a lot of these cops are having a hard time with. Is in particular, there in New York, you have a district attorney there in Manhattan who's decided, yeah, unless someone is caught actively assaulting or trying to kill somebody, yeah, no, they're not going to get arrested. And that's pretty much been his thing. And unless you're going to address that issue, which, by the way, the president did not, then you are not really being tough on crime.
Yeah, this is just your typical, Democrat, liberal-run city. There's double, triple, quadruple standards there. The bad guys are allowed to have guns and not go to jail.
Right.
The elite, the rich and the elite are able to have their own firearms, and their people protecting them have firearms licenses. But those in the everyday world traveling back and forth are not allowed to have any kind of firearm, any kind of weapon whatsoever to protect themselves. And listen, NYPD is one of the best police organizations in the world, 35,000 strong, but there's a difference between 35,000 and 10 million. Do the math on that to figure out the numbers of police officers that you have available to you. The national rate, what you're shooting for, is 1,000 to 1. Mm-hmm. You're about too short there. You should those numbers in New York City. You should have about 105,000, right? 100,000 if you want to be 10 to 1. So that's how short they are with their policing, even with a huge number like 35,000. So, they can't be everywhere to protect themselves. So let's allow, I don't know, our natural God-given rights and the Second Amendment to protect ourselves.
Well, exactly. No, by the way, Patrick has made it clear. It's called boba, and you actually drink it through a half-inch diameter straw. That's how big the little balls are.
Yeah, I'm going to leave you two alone with that. All right,
it must be a generational thing.
You two with your big straws and big ball sucking going on there. You guys are okay. Yes, all you.
But anyway, so this leads me into story number 2. And now, during his little speechy thingy on being tough on crime, one of the things that he did was he said a number of things that were just flat out falsehoods about the Second Amendment. And I want to share some of these. I'm going to share a couple of video clips with you, just so that you can kind of hear some of the things that he had to say.
Making sure that people who are not allowed to have a gun don't get the gun in the first place. And again, for any of the press listening, this doesn't violate anybody's Second Amendment right. There's no violation of a Second Amendment right. We talk like there's no amendment that's absolute. When the amendment was passed, it didn't say anybody can own a gun and any kind of gun and any kind of weapon. You couldn't buy a cannon when this amendment was passed. And so no reason why you should be able to buy certain assault weapons. But that's another issue.
Okay, so first of all, Mike, let's touch on this issue. Number one, yes, you could buy a cannon. As long as you could afford a cannon, you could be an individual and own a cannon. I have absolutely no idea where he got that from. In what world he thought that particular statement was appropriate.
Well, you know that, Craig. This is the battle cry of the uneducated Second Amendment anti-gun person. That's the first thing they go for. Well, you couldn't have a cannon, or you want to have a tank now? You know what? Come here, come closer. I don't even want to reach that far to smack you. It's you're an idiot, and your argument is ridiculous. If you couldn't have a cannon then, right? Does that mean the freedom of press doesn't apply to the computers and internets now? Does it? I don't know. Because you compare old technology with new technology. Cannons were widely available, and anybody could have them back then. Moron. There you go.
Well, no, not just a moron. But then he says, "Well, no right is absolute." Well, I'm sorry, but when they said "shall not be infringed," I'm trying to figure out where in "shall not be infringed" was the ability, or where they said, yeah, no, it can be infringed, except I don't see that in there. That sounds pretty much like an absolute to me.
shall not be. You know where else that appears in the Constitution? You know where else where that appears in the in all of the documents that come out of the DC, or during, excuse me, not DC, Philadelphia during the day. You know where else shall not be is appears, Craig?
Where?
Nowhere. It's about as absolute as you could get. You know,
Right.
It is clearly the only of the Bill of Rights that has an absolute demand to it and an edict to it. Nowhere else in the Constitution, nowhere else in there do you see it. Not even in the Declaration of Independence do you see it.
Right. Well, by the way, these were not the only particular lies or that he decided that he was going to tell as a part of his little speechifying thing. Check this one out real quick.
You know, the future's cut short by a man with a stolen Glock with 40 rounds, a magazine with 40 rounds. And it's really a weapon of war.
Okay, now, Mike, I got to ask. Now, I have standard capacity magazines.
Yes.
I have standard capacity magazines, which is 16 plus 1. I have California Legal, which is 10 plus 1. I even have an extended magazine, and I won't say how much that one holds. Well, it's at 27. But I've never heard of a Glock magazine that holds 40 rounds. Have you?
Listen, I've heard of the all the standard capacity Glock mags, anywhere from like you said, from 6 to 16, right?
Right.
6 to 17, and then you can get the little add a little 2 to the bottom of a couple of them, so you can add 2, right? That still only gets us to like 19. You start getting into the longer magazines, and you can get up to depending on caliber, 27 round or 33 round. And that's usually when you're converting your pistol into a carbine. There's kits out there to convert it into into a carbine, a pistol carbine. And then there's the 50 round single drum, but I've never heard of the 40 round mag at all. It's nowhere near a standard round. I mean,
Is there a 50 round drum available for a Glock?
There's a 50 round single drum available for Glocks and 9mm. Yes. But it's a 50 round. That's not a concealable thing. That's the kind of thing you use it when you're doing converting it to a carbine. Yeah.
Where were those during Freedom Week? I would have bought one of those if I had known one existed.
Yeah, they're like, again, mostly used for agencies that put them. There's a mod kit you could put your Glock into. Take the slide off, use the Glock, has a longer barrel. It's a lot for a lot of law enforcement agencies that can't afford to have multiple weapon platforms instead of just converting the Glock handguns from handguns to carbines. And a lot of paperwork's got to be done, but the mags exist, but no 40 round mag exists. I'm sure what he was referring to was the Glock 40, because that's what you hear about in the songs all the time. Glock 40. My Glock 40.
40
which is
caliber.
Which is not even
right.
This is the 40 caliber, right? Not the Glock number 40, which would be different. Yeah.
Dude,
lots of stuff going on.
I think every time they allow him to speak, it is both a benefit to the country and it both harms the country. It's a benefit to the country because people get to see just how lost this individual is. But second, the problem is that all of our enemies get to see how lost he is. I really do believe that it's a matter of national security. Dude is done up here.
Every time we see this guy go off the rails like this, right? That's when you see, somebody like Putin go, oh, yeah, guess what? We're going to put troops in the Ukraine because they know this guy's going to poop himself. He doesn't have the ability to come up with a good foreign policy. Now he's got a team of other people around him that are running the show for him anyway. So, but it's still a delay.
Right. It is just scary. But the problem is this is also the guy who's now in charge of signing policy, and that whatever is sent to his desk from the liberal legislature, liberal Congress, he'll sign.
Yeah, and absolutely,
which is why we have to keep it from his desk.
Yep. Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right, moving right along. The CDC has finally come out I don't know. It only took what, a year, 2 years for the CDC to finally acknowledge that well, natural immunity, it's a thing. It's actually a thing. According to the Hill, the CDC finally recognized natural immunity, and they're encouraging now legislators to do the same. And the point behind this is we already saw a study that came out from, once again, from the CDC that said that natural immunity is 6 times stronger and 6 times better than any of the vaccines. So why are we not accepting when someone has had COVID-19, it's been verified that they've had COVID-19, and now they test negative, we now know they have better immunity than people who have gotten the vaccine. Why are we then requiring them to get vaccinated? I realize this is something that could wind up getting us removed, but I think the fact that everyone now is admitting it, there's no real reason for either YouTube or Facebook to give us grief over this one.
Why, you ask? Control. Easy, right there. It's about control. They can't double down because they would get caught. They're going to continue to stand by this story. That the masks save lives and quarantines save lives. They're going to continue to go on that story.
Quarantines don't save lives. Oh,
well, we know that, but what they're going. This is what they're going to say.
Right.
They're going to continue to say that it does, until you believe them. Because guess what, Craig? That's what people believe anyway.
Well,
they've got them brainwashed.
It's funny you say that because I've noticed that almost none of the mainstream media, Fox, I mean, not other than like Fox, none of like MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, none of them are reporting on the Johns Hopkins study that said that lockdowns didn't help when it came to morbidity, that it only really affected things 0.29%. I mean,
yeah.
And none of the mainstream media is reporting. And like I said before, Johns Hopkins is not a right-wing hospital.
No, it's the opposite.
Right. It is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And yet you don't have anyone in the mainstream media reporting on what they talked about. And it's for the very same reason that you said, because how they would never, ever bother to actually own the idea that, that they were wrong. Or that they had
I would.
misreported.
It's just looking at it again over and over and over again. There's no way they can't step back from this story. They cannot. The ones that they championed as, listen, the CDC says this, and the WHO says this, and now they're all coming out with these stories, and yet these politicians are like, what we don't know, we know, we don't know, we know. The unknown known one we know. Give it a rest. I'm tired of hearing you guys badly repeat Donald Trump's.
Here was the thing.
Donald Rumsfeld's message.
Well, but here was the thing. It's not just that they were wrong, because I think they could, if it were just a matter of the fact that they were wrong, I think that they could get away with owning it. What they can't own is this: the fact that conservatives and conservative outlets were saying these things a long time ago. And they were calling them, oh, you're denying the science. You're wrong. And the fact that they so denounced and went after people who were saying these very same things before it became popular, before people they knew said it was true. That's what really it came down to, is the fact that they weren't just wrong. They went after people who were right as if they were wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they should be taken out and beaten in the streets over this. I mean, and they're lucky if it doesn't come to that.
Figuratively.
About 3 years from now. Oh yeah. Figuratively with these figures, it was right here.
We are not encouraging violence against anyone.
No, I said they're lucky that they don't.
Oh, they're lucky that. Okay. I'm just.
Yeah.
Once again, look, man, we, just trying to stay on the air, bruh. Just trying to stay on the air.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. I'm not saying that we're going to do it. I'm just saying that figuratively, they've earned it. There you go. Well, you know what? Hey, so here's another thing.
A smack. They at least need a smack in the back of the head. They at least
Smack
need
in the back of the head.
What are you
There
doing?
you go.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I can buy into that. That's not violence. That's more of what are you doing? Right? Wake up.
It's
more
a
more of
redirection.
wake-up call.
We call that the Gibbs. We give him the
Gibbs.
Gibbs slap in the back of the
Give the
head.
Gibbs
Yeah.
slap. Okay, I hear you. I hear you on that one. Well, Nancy Pelosi is probably one who would be worthy of such an action. I don't know if you saw this, Mike, but Nancy Pelosi decided that she was going to come out and start talking about Olympians, right? And as they're getting ready, they're dealing with the opening ceremony of the Olympics, right? For the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China, of all places. Nancy Pelosi decided she was going to go out and warn U.S. athletes not to risk incurring the anger of ruthless Chinese government by speaking out against human rights issues there in China. Now, Mike, what gets me about this is she didn't say anything about the evil Chinese and the evil Chinese bet not touch our people. She didn't say anything about the evils that are going on there. All she cared about was, yeah, don't say anything to make the Chinese mad.
Yeah, she. I don't even know how to go about talking about her. They have she goes after everything but Chinese, right? It's everybody's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's not the Chinese fault. We know it's not the Chinese fault when it comes to COVID, according to her, right? We know that it's whose fault? It's Donald Trump's fault, right? And right, and isn't it really, according to her, it's Donald Trump who made us all evil and made everything bad, and that's where the COVID comes from. She can't say it's China. She won't say it's China unless we send Americans there for the Olympics. Then she's going to tell them to watch out for the evil Chinese. So don't worry about anything the Chinese have done and where the virus came from over here or how it started with their bad protocols over there. It's only when we send athletes over there that she's concerned. I bet you she's probably related to an athlete. It's probably what it is, Greg.
Well, what I will say is this, and I will at least give NBC some credit. They did make some mentions of the atrocities taking place in China. They talked about their one child policy. They talked a little bit about the Uyghurs. Of course, I'm wondering because I know that originally they had decided they were not going to send their folks over to China, their announcers, and I'm wondering if they are in America making some of those comments as they're watching it on a screen as opposed to actually being there and making some of those comments. So that's why probably they feel safer. And, here's the thing, but to tell American citizens that, first of all, I think it's appropriate to say, look, if you say something, they could do something, and they've said they will arrest you. You need to know that, right?
Yeah.
But it's another thing to tell them, don't risk it, because you know what? If Americans feel like they need to say something, then they need to say something. If they need to do a gesture, then they need to do a gesture.
Listen, where does Karen come from? America. She's definitely going to let you know. She's going to go right. She's going to be right over there in China and asked to speak to a manager. That's what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I would like to speak to a manager, please. Greg, since this is our first time touching on the Olympics, since we've been doing the rundown here this past week, I believe we have to give some acknowledgement and pats on the backs to an incredible feat that's already occurring, and that's the return of the 4-man Jamaican bobsled team to the Winter Olympics. So,
what? They made it back?
Congratulations. They made it back. First time since 98.
Wow.
They have the 4-man Jamaican bob. There was a 2-man bobsled team not too long ago. And now I don't know if you know this, there's a new 1-man female bobsled called the Mono Bob, which I think is the totally wrong name for that, by the way. But
more
the
Jamaicans than one, right?
I mean, why did they call it the Mono Roberta? I don't know. It's just, or the Womono Bob. I don't know. It's just, it could have gone so many different ways. So we get to see the Jamaican bobsled team back in action again.
God, I'm trying to remember the little song they sang.
Jamaican bobsled.
One of my favorite movies with John Candy.
Cool Runnings, baby.
Cool Runnings. Yeah, that was a phenomenal movie.
Senka, are you dead?
Look, while we're talking about Nancy Pelosi and we're talking about the Chinese Olympics, I figured this is as close as we were gonna get to this. Now, the only issue that I have with this meme is that Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi are not on it. And there we go. Bam. This is what you think a Chinese prostitute looks like. What actual Chinese prostitute looks like.
Oh, and you're worried about me getting us kicked off the air.
Look, all I know is yeah, these folks are they are in the pocket of China. China is kicking down the cash, and they don't mind it one bit.
Yep, there you go.
Enough said.
There
Enough
you go.
said.
That's it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Oh, Mike, you just sent me the 50-round drum. Okay, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
Well,
Definitely
you can look
gonna
at
have to
it.
look that one. What?
You can't touch it. You can look at it. You just can't touch it out there.
Yes, I can. Well, now that you know, Freedom Week. That's when you should have sent it to me.
That's what you got to do. Is right now you got to go online and put it in your inbox.
Mhm.
You know, and then wait for the Freedom Week to drop. That way you could just go. It's like push. It's like pushing the 1 on 911. You don't even have to push 9 and 1. You just push 1 and it's sent.
Right.
So you'll
Right.
get one. You'll get one during the
Exactly.
next Freedom Week.
Exactly. Well, who knows? Maybe our case should be taken up by the Supreme Court. We're hoping, and we'll actually get to own at least the same magazines that the rest of the country gets to own.
That's right.
All right, so Mikey, before we check out, how about a quick shout out to the sponsors?
A quick shout out to our friends at Grid Defense, Gorilla Machining, and then of course the California Republican Assembly.
All right, I'm gonna make it real quick, just so you guys know. There's a new bill that's out in California. Go to the link to the description of this video and check it out. They're basically going to require schools to collect gun ownership data and information on parents of school children. Yes, check it out. CRA's fighting it. You can send an email. It's all part of their Take Action program, and that's why you guys need to be a member because they're taking action. They're fighting for all of our rights, including our right to keep and bear arms here in the state of California. So please make sure you do that. Also, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let folks know about the Rundown. When you visit our sponsors, make sure you let them know that the guys over at the Rundown sent you, because that encourages them to support us so that we can support you.
Yes. What he said.
Now, with that, you guys take care. Have a good weekend, and we will see you on Manic Monday.